which is why can't Clark stop women from kissing him? So she kind of says that, and he's like, "Oh, she surprised me," but he did it in a very like, "Yeah, I'm not really happy with you right now" kind of way. And then he just comes out with it. He said that he couldn't believe she didn't stand up to her dad, and he's kind of angry about this whole thing. You can kind of see he's really frustrated when he's chopping wood with his hand. And Lois tells him that she doesn't want to fight with her dad. It's just one day. And she says, "You don't understand because you don't have." And she stops, and he's like, "Oh, because I don't have a dad." And so that just makes him even more angry. So she tells him that if he wants to be with her, he has to put up with her family. And she leaves. She's really upset, and he kind of looks like, you know, he feels bad. But then again, it's like he has to put up with her family. Her dad is a jackass, and her sister is a tramp. So it's kind of like, really? Do I have to put up with this? Because it seems a bit much to ask of someone. So, what was great about that scene, though, is the direction where Clark and Lois were really far apart, and even though she kind of came closer to when she was trying to reason with him, they were still, like, you could see and feel, like, the tension of everything, which is, like, going from where the episode began, at the beginning of the day until this, it was just, like, a total deterioration, all because of her family and their crazy A shenanigans. So then I guess we get to the part where the general's interrogating Clark, which could have been cheesy, like on the preview I was like, really, what is this? But Michael Ironside, man, he just played it so like you could believe that this man would do this to his daughter's boyfriend. And he was just laying into Clark. I mean, he had already insulted where Clark lives and what Clark does for a living and calls Clark's mom his enemy. Then he goes on to accuse Clark's mom of covering for him, and at that point you can see that Clark's like really fed up. Like, this is ridiculous. And he stands up and he's really like standing his ground, but you can see that both of them have complete conviction in what they're saying. Like, the general believes what he's saying, and so does Clark, and then Clark calls him Sam. Also very brilliant on the writer's part. It's like this man has been disrespecting him all day long. And so Clark was raised well, he respects his elders, he's a really good guy, but he had really been pushed too far at that point. So Sam says, I have the right to protect my family, and Clark says, maybe you have the right, but what you're wrong about is the fact that Lois and I don't belong together, and he says that he loves her and he can't imagine spending a day without her. And I was like, wow. I mean, I have never in 10 years heard Clark say something like that. So it was just kind of like, wow, like I felt like I was floating in space. And then the general comes back with, well, you better enjoy today because it's the last day you're going to spend with her. And it was like being, boom, like being shot out of the sky, because I really did not see that coming. I thought he was just going to be like, okay, Clark stood up to him. But that was like cold. I mean, that was a low blow. Like, he is just going to destroy their relationship. So then he goes, Clark goes to talk to Lois, and she's just obviously really upset. I guess her family's getting their stuff, and they're going to leave. And she's mad at Clark about it, and Clark tells her that her dad had him investigated, and Lucy set him up, and so she kind of looks like, wow, this is getting out of hand. And then also in that scene, also the directing was perfect, because the general and Lucy are on one side and Clark and Lois are on the other, and you kind of feel like, okay, there's like a battle line being drawn. And again, Peyton List, she is on point. Like, everything she did is just, she's so conniving, so in control of what she's doing. Like, she says, oh, I think we should go back to your place without Clark. And she gives this look like she knows exactly what she's doing. It was perfect. Like, I loved Lucy, just like, because her character is like, underneath it all, she cares about Lois, but she's just so selfish. That's what she does. So she leaves, and then the general tells Lois that she needs to come with him, and that it's an order. And Clark and Lois both look like, what? Like, you were ordering her around? And she tries to talk to her dad and try to, come to some kind of reasonableness. And her dad, again, accuses Clark of being in league with terrorists and says he's going to go down with them, which I thought, wow, that's extreme. And it was so perfect in this moment because Tom Welling is like a master of facial expressions. And he gives Lois this look like, at first he's just staring like in disbelief that the general's saying all this crap to him. But he looks at her like, it wasn't like a huge smile or anything, but it was like, come on, Lois, obviously you're going to stay with me. You're not going to leave right now. And it was just this subtle facial expression that said so much like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You can stay. It's obvious who you should pick out of this. The crazy man who's calling me a terrorist or me. And she looked for a moment like she might, not go with her dad. But then she said, I'm sorry, Clark. And she went with him. And Clark was just like dumbfounded, like totally, it just could not, and total disbelief that this was going down in his house. So then Lois gets to the Talon and she tells her dad, that she loves Clark. And I wish she had said that, with Clark there or something. But it was okay. She had finally gotten to the point where she was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. And she's going to stay with him. And then the Talon explodes. I hate the Talon. I mean, I don't hate it. I just hated that Lois lived there, like, for years. I was like, why doesn't she move to Metropolis? Why does she live in Smallville? I just did not like that she was there after Lana and Chloe and all that. So, yay. That's over. But what was great about that scene was obviously Erica's acting, but Lucy, like when Lois says, you have to respect the fact that I want to stay with Clark, you can see that Lucy's about to like cry. Like, that is what I mean about why I love Lucy. I love Lucy. Also the best show on television ever in the history. I love Lucy. Anyway, so Lucy loves Lois, but she's jealous of her. And in season 4, Lucy said, that Lois always got to go with her dad, and Lois was like, no, but she always got to go to the best school. So they both have this image of each other, like that they both had the best lives, and, kind of see the grass is greener on the other side. So Clark figures out that they're going after General Lane, and he comes and saves her. That was awesome. That whole sequence. So I just thought that was beautiful. Like, when Clark comes and he leaves her there with her family, Clark could have blurred in and took Lois to the farm or whatever, they could have had a conversation. But in that moment, her family thought she had died because of Lucy putting that pin there and everything. So he took them there. He took her there, I'm sorry, to be with her family. And I just thought that's what makes Clark awesome. That is why he's the ultimate hero. He is so unselfish. He wasn't doing this, so he could prove to Lois that she should be with him. He just saved her because, he would save anybody, but he loves her. And then he took her there so her family would see that she was okay. So that moment was so I loved it. And I'm not a fan of the blur graffiti all over the city, but I understand the show has some constraints. Like, I didn't like the whole talking on the phone with the voice distorter. I thought that was stupid, but because they can't show his face and he's not Superman, they have to do these silly little things so that his identity is known and people know that he's saving people. But it's just kind of a slightly like whatever kind of thing with him putting his symbol everywhere. So then the general talks to Clark in the barn again at the end. I'm going so long in this commentary. Okay, so basically the general talks to Clark and tells him how important family is and that he's really glad that Lois has her own personal guardian angel. And again, with Lois and Lucy's conversation, you can see that the love is there and that Lucy really does care about her. Then Clark asks General the big question that any homegrown farm boy would ask somebody's dad. So I'm guessing that the general said yes, because when they're all at the table eating, Clark looks at Lois like she knows there's something going on and she hasn't really figured out what it is. But, that he's going to pop the question. And also,